fantasy baseball. Let's be honest, George. There's a lot of things antiquated about this game that we love. Man, like I would love to try some new little wrinkles here. And so for Sam's question here on the show, I think it's at least fair to ask the question with catchers in fantasy baseball. And sometimes we're playing in 2 catcher leagues. Why at this stage of the game? I have no idea. If you're still doing it, you're behind in the times. Buy or sell, catchers should get a fantasy point for throwing out runners trying to steal. So essentially awarding a defensive play to get an offensive point in fantasy. You going to buy or sell this?
I mean, so this didn't even cross my mind. I hate the catcher position because they get hurt so much. You play in a 2 catcher league, I don't know what to tell you. You know, it's like, what are we doing here? There are not 24, assuming a 12-team league, there are not 24 catchers to draft in baseball. It's just not. Although I'm the first person to tell you, Herrera's probably out there in a bunch of leagues there because we didn't see that power coming. No. Should he get a point? I think if you're going to do this, by the way, why a point? What are you throwing out? 1, 2 base runners a week? It's 2 points. Who cares? You know, should it be more? I mean, if we're going to do this, should we do it right? Should it be 5 points? You know, so I would probably go that direction. If you're going to do it right. Give it more points. And by the way, then let's go further. You make an error, you're losing points. No one gets an error anymore. All right, if you get an error, it means you really screwed up. I was watching that Yankee-Pittsburgh game yesterday because I think it was who cares? Somebody hit the ball hard to Isaiah Khalifa at shortstop. He didn't have to move, but he dropped it. They called it a hit because he hit the ball hard with 3 hopper. Oh, hard hit, error. So let's do that too. So yeah, I'm kind of on board with this, but you need more than one. It can't just be a point that's meaningless. You need more than one.
Fantasy Sports Today. Weekends starting at 8 a.m. Only on SportsGrid.
Good morning. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish. Time for us to get into the very latest in sports betting, and of course, results from some of the games last night. Thanks for getting up with us this morning. We'll recap last night's NBA play-in games. 2 surprises, 2 underdogs coming through that could potentially be moving on to the next round, which of course is the NBA playoffs very soon. In addition, Matt Lutovsky will join us from Sporting News. The NFL Draft 1 week from today. Get ready. Our coverage on SportsGrid will begin in less than a week from now. So make sure you stay tuned to that. Also, of course, coming off the Masters, we got Brady Kannon back in the house talking about the RBC Heritage Open, which of course is underway currently, and he'll give us some picks and some potential sleepers going into that tournament this week. But let's start off with the big story from the NBA last night. How about this? The Dallas Mavericks, undermanned, criticized, all of the bad words that you can come up with over the course of the season. They get things done last night against the Sacramento Kings, and wouldn't you know, it was the player that came over in the Luka Doncic trade that ended up proving to be one of the big moves they made. Anthony Davis, 27 points, 9 rebounds in the game. Klay Thompson also coming through from three-point range. He was 5 for 7 from beyond the distance. They outscored the Kings 44-19 in the second quarter in this final of 120-106. And so the Sacramento Kings, my goodness, this is a stat that you don't want to be a part of in sports. They've missed the playoffs for the 18th time in 19 seasons. You know what they say? Like a squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. My gosh, the Kings go down again. Jason Kidd certainly happy with the team's outcome as they head on to a potential playoff showdown.
Well, I think when you look at the defense, being able to limit them to one tough shot, and then I thought the pace there we had carry over from the first quarter was to keep it high, and I thought B. Will and X and those guys who pushed the ball for us tonight did a really good job of attacking after the miss. And so, again, the ball, everybody was touching the ball. The pace was high, but the defense, led for us to, get out there and score 44 points and hold them to 19.
Tell us about the shot making from Klay Thompson in that quarter.
Yeah, I think he got going. Being able to set screens with AD and him, and then also I thought the relationship between Klay and D-Live was at a high. They were channel 2-ing him, and so he was being able to get the ball to D-Live, and I thought D-Live did a great job of playmaking. He was unselfish. He didn't look to score. He looked weak and got guys wide open shots.
Meanwhile, the Sacramento Kings didn't wait long till after their loss to let go of their general manager. As it turns out, they decide to part ways with their GM, and Monty McNair is out at this point from the Sacramento Kings. Who knows which direction they head in the future? Meanwhile, the Miami Heat, a short dog yesterday against the Chicago Bulls, have a chance to capture the 8th seed if they can get one more win. Tyler Hero came through last night in a big way against the Chicago Bulls. They go on the road. This game was not close, folks. 109-90. Hero, 38 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists. The closest the Bulls got to within the Heat was 13 in the fourth quarter. And now the Bulls have missed the, official playoffs for the 3rd straight year. After the game, Eric Spoelstra sent a message to his team and said that he's not going to tell us what that message was.
None of your business. Unfortunately, I think there's a camera in there. He'll probably. It was a quick message. We're only halfway there. We didn't have the luxury of having the one game and then you're automatically in. So, guys feel great about this win. Really put a lot into this. This is not something that could just happen overnight. We feel like there's been some good things. Happening the last several weeks, and this is the first time we've been, mostly whole, in a while where guys feel good.
Good to bounce back, man. Like you said, they swept us in the regular season, so we know it's 6-8. A lot of us has been in just playing a lot, but backs against the wall. I always says like March Madness, win or go home.
Could be the same coming up this week as the Miami Heat have a shot now to get the 8th seed, but the Atlanta Hawks are in the way. Right now, Atlanta's a 1-point favorite in the East to get the 8th seed, and in the West, it's Memphis against Dallas. No surprise, the Grizzlies are 6.5-point favorites as we close in on the NBA playoffs officially on Saturday. An ex-Baylor employee has been penalized for playing DFS. The NCAA has investigated a former employee for participating in improper gambling activity and found that he played daily fantasy sports contests on professional and college games that did include contests that included Baylor student athletes. So needless to say, this is not something that is allowed. He's got a 2-week suspension going, and they'll figure out what to do in the future here. But certainly this is a lesson to be learned for collegiate employees. Got to stay away from DFS and betting as well. All right, in Major League Baseball, the Colorado Rockies and Los Angeles Dodgers were slugging it out early in the game. The Rockies hit a grand slam, made it close, but they've got the worst record in baseball, and that continued yesterday. The Dodgers beat the Rocks 8-7. That was the final. Meanwhile, Fernando Tatis Jr., Manny Machado each driving 2 runs. The Padres beat the Cubs 4-2. They are 15-4 on the season. How about the San Francisco Giants? Maybe the biggest positive of their season is this player that they signed last year who missed most of the season, Jung-Ho Lee. 2 more RBIs. He's hitting .338 on the season, 3 home runs, 14 runs driven in. Wow. And the Giants beat the Phillies by a final score of 11-4. It was cold in Philadelphia last night, but the Giants' bats stayed hot, according to Bob Melvin.
It looked like they both had trouble settling in. So, in Robbie's case, you walk 5, you strike out 8, you're going to throw a lot of pitches, and you're not going to be out there very long. Unfortunately, that was the case for him. Nola settled in after a tough first inning. But I think just, the cold and gripping the baseball and early in the game and guys putting together some good at-bats made for a difficult first inning for both.
Home run number 7 for Aaron Judge as he hits the go-ahead homer. The Yankees beat the Royals 4-3. They end up sweeping Kansas City. Aaron Judge now on the season. He's doing fairly well. Is this correct? .490 batting average, 7 home runs, 21 runs driven in. 409. I was okay. I'm just reading Frank. 409, 7 home runs, 21 runs driven in. Ron Burgundy has showed his face here on the show. Aaron Boone talking about how locked in Judge is at the moment.
Honestly, tonight was the most locked in I felt like at bat wise, like where he was just like on everything. Bubic is tough, and I felt like he was just seeing it well and on everything, and then all the way to the homer. Just Schreiber's. He's in there to get righties, and specifically for Judge there, and just to get that ball in the air that way, like that, on a cold night is just, well, he got intentionally walked, so 3 really impressive at bats.
Good night for Jackson Holliday, the Baltimore Orioles, especially considering he was in an 0 for 17 slump. How did he break out? He hit a grand slam. Final 9-1. The Orioles beat the Cleveland Guardians. Holliday, of course, struggled last year, struggled a little bit this year, but seems to be turning the corner. Here's their manager, Brandon Hyde.
Be able to stay on a baseball in the left center the way he did. It was a backdoor slider or some sort of breaking ball. We saw the left center field kind of power there he had. Was at Toronto. It's a beautiful thing when he was in the middle of the field, line drives. That was a huge hit for us at the time. Really impressed with our at-bats before that. Liked our at-bats against Williams all game. He's a really, really tough starter. Thought we did a really good job with a good game plan of staying off the elevated fastball. We pushed him down set, had a bunch of really good at-bats. And so I thought it was, even though we hit some balls hard, didn't get a ton of hits, I thought our approach was really good tonight.
Twins beat the Mets. Final score 4-3. Ty France with the game winner there. Corey Seager, 3 hits, couple of RBIs. Patrick Corbin pitched very well for Texas. They beat the Angels by a final of 3-1, and the Brewers beat the Tigers 5-1. Christian Yelich, Rhys Hoskins, Sal Frelick homer, 5-1 the final there. NFL draft preview with Matt Lutovsky.
Who else? Who can maybe provide a test? Who can maybe be a challenger and a contender elsewhere around the Eastern Conference?
Top 2 is going to be a runaway. But I guess if I had to choose, Ben, it's going to be the Knicks. At least they have the talent to somehow upset teams that are better than them, but they can't in the regular season. Maybe it changes in the playoffs.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
We know what Chris Sale can bring. I was personally high on Schwallenbach. Smith Shawver, their other starter, looks okay to kind of bad. They need to I don't want to say tread water, so I think that puts it in a bad light, but that's what they ultimately need to do. They need to tread water until Strider gets back, until Acuna gets back, and maybe it's just part of the team morale mentality that we're not at full strength. We need to kick things into gear once those guys get here.
Pro Baseball Today. Only on SportsGrid.
They have already decided, it would appear to me, from what you're telling me, that they're satisfied with the quarterback room as it stands now.
Shedeur Sanders does not have the value to go at number 3. I know they need a quarterback. It's about this season with Russell Wilson, okay? No question he's going to be the starter. Winston will back him up. But the future they can get next year.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
A week from today, Matt Lutovsky of Sporting News is going to be locked into the NFL draft to see if some of their selections over at sportingnews.com end up coming to fruition. But for our show here today, let's remember a lot of things can change between now and the night of the NFL draft in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Let's bring Matt in to break it all down. Matt, great to have you here on NewsWire. Let's first get your thoughts here. The Sporting News has released their top 5. So let's go through it. You'll tell me, because again, you got Vinny and a lot of other guys working with you there too. You'll tell me kind of where you stand with some of these picks. The Titans with Cam Ward, we can skip that. So it's Abdul Carter 2, Travis Hunter 3, Will Campbell 4, and Mason Graham, defensive tackle 5 it does feel like this is extremely fluid beyond the third pick of the draft. I think, a team could trade up, a team could trade down. I think the bottom line here, Matt, is that it's sort of time to share, plant a flag, so to speak, and have an opinion on some of these great players that are about to get drafted.
Yeah, there's a lot of good ones. I think, though, the difference between this year's draft and some of the others in the past is you don't have that second quarterback who really stands out. Now, some people would say, well, it's Shedeur Sanders. And honestly, maybe it is. But I mean, you talk about someone who's all over the place when it comes to draft rumors and draft stock. So I think when you look at that 5 that was in Vinny's draft, I think that's about right. I think those are the top 5 players. But we know if a team really wants a quarterback, there could be a trade up and things could change in a hurry. I mean, some of those teams in the top 5 need a quarterback. But if they decide that's a little too rich to draft Shedeur, well, then that's going to change things because we know how good Carter is. We know how good Travis Hunter is. Every team needs an offensive lineman. So there's definitely going to be some things that are going to change. I mean, this is one of the first drafts, and I think it is the first draft where you don't have any teams with multiple first-round picks. You don't have any teams without a first-round pick as we stand right now. I would suspect that to change. It might not change till the night of the first round, but there's probably going to be something that happens. But as we sit here right now, it's a shockingly normal draft, at least in terms of draft order. And there's no way that that's going to actually happen.
Yeah, no, they're going to be trades. And then, what's funny is that the season ends in the NFL, and it's not that I forget players or where they are, but things like sort of hit me here again. And Abdul Carter is, very, fresh in my mind for how well he played, of course, in the college football season and in the playoff. And it's like I forgot they have Myles Garrett too. So, like, does Cleveland make this move, you think, here, where they just have one guy on each side, and that's sort of their game plan here? Because I'll tell you what, it may be the right pick, Matt, for 2028. But I mean, this is pretty much going to solidify the Browns being horrible next year if they make this pick.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, when you look at what the Browns have done so far in the offseason, where the only quarterback they went and got, or, well, they technically got Joe Flacco too, but Kenny Pickett, you look at it and say, well, I don't know what they're really doing on offense. They haven't really added a lot. So unless you feel really good about maybe a later pick quarterback, like say you want to go after Jackson Dart, or you think you can move up in the first round to get Shedeur, or you really like Jalen Milroe or something like that, yeah, I think there's going to be problems on offense unless they take a quarterback at some point, almost no matter what they do. So I think the Browns have so many holes, as so many teams do that are drafting early, that it's best player available situation. But I definitely could see Travis Hunter going to them. I think Travis Hunter, I've always thought Travis Hunter was going to go too, by hook or by crook. Somehow, no matter who has it, I personally think he's the best player in the draft. But I understand, Cam Ward going 1 because quarterbacks carry that extra value. So, yeah, I don't know exactly what they're going to do. I mean, the thing with Travis Hunter is that he obviously fills 2 holes for every team, based on everything he's saying about how he's adamant he's going to play both sides. Is he going to play both sides the way he did in college? I'd be a little surprised about that if he plays as much receiver as he did in college. But I think he'll play enough where he'll help a team on that side. So I think he's the kind of guy, if you're a team like Cleveland and you're just looking for best player available and you're looking to plug some holes for a team that's not very good, I mean, he really gets the job done there. But we know Myles Garrett wanted to leave Cleveland until they backed up the Brinks truck for him. So Cleveland might be saying, we don't know how much longer we're going to have this guy. We signed him to this big contract, but he still wants out. Maybe we can move him, get a bunch more pieces, down the road, and then we'll still have a stud pass rusher. So I think there's a lot of different ways teams are looking at it and how they're putting their draft boards together.
Yeah, look, it's still very fluid right now, and beyond pick 1, I don't think anybody really knows for sure. The top running back in the draft looks like it's going to be Ashton Genty. You guys have him going to the Raiders at 6. The Jets will take a tackle on your mock draft. You have McMillan, the great wide receiver from Arizona, going to the Panthers. Shedeur Sanders, everyone sort of is doing this now in their mocks. They're putting him in New Orleans because of the Carr situation there. And then Shamar Stewart, edge rusher here. So, until it Matt, I've said so many times here on the show, I think everyone's just getting upset with me at this point. I'm not going to, until Sanders falls beyond 2 and 3, I'm not going to believe that he will. I still think that that some team is going to take him right there at the top, but the Saints does make a lot of sense now. If the Carr thing is legit, which, by the way, really weird reporting for this to come out right now, too.
Yeah, it really is. And I've always kind of thought that one way or another, quarterbacks wind up going early again, whether it's a trade, whether it's a team just making that pick. Because as I said earlier, these teams need a quarterback, some of those guys early. It's tough to say where exactly he's going to go. I think, like you said, the Saints is sort of a safe place to put him, whether it's at that position or whether they trade up to get him. We did another mock draft last week where we incorporated trades into it, which is just an impossible task, but we did it anyway for you, the reader, and we had the Saints trading up for him. So one way or another, the Saints are going to take him. But I think he's going to go high as well. But it's really interesting. There's very few players who have had such a wide range of opinions less than a week before the draft. It's unbelievable. What you can find someone saying anything about Shedeur Sanders if you look hard enough.
Yeah, no, you could. First round to second round to third round, second pick to second round. I mean, it's kind of crazy. So you guys, as we close out the first round, I know you did a 3-round mock. You have Dart all first round, and that's it. Is that the third quarterback? I have 4 in my mock in my head.
Yeah, that's what we have for the quarterbacks. Jalen Milroe is invited to the draft, and that makes me wonder: does he know something we don't? And is he going to somehow slip into that first round? But I think there's a good chance. We know quarterbacks wind up going. Teams trade up at the last minute to get in there. So we'll see.
They do. All right. Great to talk to you, Matt. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Sound Off's up next.
Want to play roulette? Here's a tip. European roulette has a lower house edge than American style. The lower the house edge, the better shot you have at winning. Most online casinos offer European roulette. So, if I were you, I'd get spinning. Now, go get lucky. See you in Lost Pages. Let's get lucky.
Okay, what tools can you use to measure those things a bit? And that's where you have like force plates and 3D motion and launch monitors, things like that. But that's all just sort of like measuring what's happening. That doesn't necessarily explain why one guy's really good and another guy's not really good. And that's where there's still kind of like this ongoing, how do you like continue to do research to understand that better? And I think that's going to last well past my lifetime.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
I'm still optimistic eventually this will happen and they'll get it together. I mean, if Florida can get their act together, Sam, with the tribes, I believe that California can too.
Would bring a lot of money to the tribe, which is also something they really care about. It's an $8 billion market. Conservatively, it could be even more when it legalizes. The sports books would be sharing revenue with the tribes, essentially doing all their operations and forking over a percentage directly to the tribes.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
King of the featherweight division for the BKFC. That is King Ty Stewart, who is joining us now, still the champion of the featherweight.
Though he did get dominated, he was still throwing big shots. He landed a lot bigger shots on Palomino than he did me, and I wasn't really impressed. Palomino's getting older. He is definitely a former GOAT. He has done amazing things in this sport, but it's just my time.
Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish. Time now for us to get into the NBA playoffs. Yes, the actual NBA playoffs that begin on Saturday. We'll talk about a coach maybe on the hot seat, also preview a couple of games out west. Time now for the SportsGrid Sound Off. All right, as we get into the very latest in the NBA, the question is, will there be another coach fired? I mean, my goodness, what is going on in the NBA? Even teams having great seasons are firing their coach. Is there a chance that another one could be on the chopping block if they don't win in the first round? Our very own Kevin Walsh tells us who that is and what could happen.
NBA playoffs fast approaching. Who's going to shine? Who's going to disappoint? And if you end up disappointing, you might lose your job. With the way the NBA coaches have been fired, maybe someone will lose their job in the middle of a series. One coach that doesn't seem to be getting discussed a ton right now as it pertains to the hot seat, I think is Doc Rivers, the Milwaukee Bucks head coach who took over midway through last season. It did not work out. They were eliminated in round number 1, but Giannis didn't play. Doc just took over. Now you fast forward to this year. Giannis will play. Lillard likely won't. And the Bucks are underdogs and supposed to be eliminated in round number 1. It feels like a loser leaves town, and either Giannis will ask out or the Bucks will have to make huge changes, like firing Doc Rivers, maybe even trading Damian Lillard. Milwaukee is one to watch heading into this postseason. Craig, it's back to you.
Is it possible Doc Rivers coaches another team in the NBA next season? This guy, I mean, what team has Doc Rivers not coached in the NBA at this point? Anyway, all right, Saturday night, 8:30 Eastern. It is Luka Doncic's first game in the playoffs as a member of the Los Angeles Lakers. It may not be that easy. Minnesota Timberwolves have had a really nice season, and certainly the Lakers are favored to win, but Mike Conley, of course, says that the Timberwolves, albeit haven't faced the Lakers all that much recently, are ready for the challenge.
We're excited for the challenge. Obviously, first time really getting to match up against this Lakers team. We've been watching a lot of film, confident in what we can bring to the table and what we have with our depth and as a team and the way we can, hopefully attack them and try to guard them. It's going to be a huge challenge for us all, but we're a team that plays well, and we're kind of looking up and having to fight our way and claw our way up a hill. So it'll be a good one.
Luka had a great series against you guys last year against Dallas. What do you think are some of the keys to just trying to make it difficult for him in this matchup?
It's hard. He's a hard cover because he's so smart with the basketball. He's so talented at making his teammates better. Within the game. For us, we have a lot of length. We have a lot of defenders, a lot of guys we throw at them, a lot of different coverages that we will have to try. Not one of them is, can you just hang your hat on and say this is going to be the thing to get it done? Our versatility has to show itself, in this series to be able to defend him and force him into rushed or contested shots or turnovers or whatever we can to get out in transition and try to make it easier for us on the other end.
Lakers are big favorites to win the series, but one series that seems to be a little bit up in the air starts Saturday at 3:30 as the LA Clippers and Denver Nuggets begin their best of 7. Of course, Denver with a new coach and a new GM, and the Clippers have really been surging at the end of the season. Here's head coach Ty Lue on the fact that these teams haven't played in a couple of months against each other, so potentially expect the unexpected.
The advantages, disadvantages of, you haven't seen the Nuggets since, January 8th.
The playoffs was different, so no advantages during the season or, after the season. Just, for us, our mindset's got to be, we know we got to take away from this team because they're dangerous in transition. We can't allow them to have 36 points in transition like they did in Game 3. We can't turn the ball over and things like that. So we know what we got to do, and if we capitalize on that, we should be in good shape.
Tommy, what are the challenges of preparing for a team that a week ago changed their head coach and going into a playoff series against them?
It's challenges every time you step into the floor in the playoffs, but Coach Malone, you know how he ran stuff and how he did things, and it's gonna be a little different. Just kind of see, what they run, the sets they run, rotations, and if they do anything different. So we'll see, but I'm not quite sure.
All right, we got 3-day baseball games in the noon hour, which is rare for any day of the week, let alone a Thursday. Diamondbacks looking for a sweep today in Miami against the Marlins. Washington Nationals on the road against the Pittsburgh Pirates. That's a 12:35 p.m. start. And then the Mariners and Reds start at 12:40 Eastern. And Brady Singer will take on Emerson Hancock. Those are the matchups. Coming up next, we talk some golf with Brady Kannon. Don't go away.
Want to play roulette? Here's a tip. European roulette has a lower house edge than American style. The lower the house edge, the better shot you have at winning. Most online casinos offer European roulette. So, if I were you, I'd get spinning. Now, go get lucky. See you in Lost Pages. Let's get lucky.
Okay, what tools can you use to measure those things a bit? And that's where you have like force plates and 3D motion and launch monitors, things like that. But that's all just sort of like measuring what's happening. That doesn't necessarily explain why one guy's really good and another guy's not really good. And that's where there's still kind of like this ongoing, how do you like continue to do research to understand that better? And I think that's going to last well past my lifetime.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
I'm still optimistic eventually this will happen and they'll get it together. I mean, if Florida can get their act together, Sam, with the tribes, I believe that California can too.
Would bring a lot of money to the tribes, which is also something they really care about. It's an $8 billion market. Conservatively, it could be even more when it legalizes. The sports books would be sharing revenue with the tribes, essentially doing all their operations and forking over a percentage directly to the tribes.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
King of the featherweight division for the BKFC, that is King Kai Stewart, who is joining us now, still the champion of the featherweight.
Though he did get dominated, he was still throwing big shots. He landed a lot bigger shots on Palomino than he did me, and I wasn't really impressed. Palomino's getting older. He is definitely a former GOAT. He has done amazing things in this sport, but it's just my time.
Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mick. My gosh, last week Brady Kannon came on the show. We were going through a lot of the selections here, and honestly, going into Sunday, there was really one big one that was alive. Unfortunately, the rest were kind of dead. Justin Rose was 100-1 to win the Masters, and that was on Brady's pick sheet. Now, again, if you ended up taking that, you could have hedged your way around things, I guess. Although Rory was such a huge favorite, but my gosh. When this thing went to the playoff, Brady, I thought of you. I'm like, wow, a 100-1 is going to hit. But you know how it works, man. Until that final putt is sank, it doesn't matter.
Oh, my goodness. What a ride. What a ride. Like you said, I thought it was going to be a losing week for me. I was going into Sunday just hoping for guys to finish top 20 and win my head-to-head matchups. And all of a sudden, Patrick Reed is right there, who we had at 115-1, and Rose, like you mentioned, also at triple digits. All of a sudden, those guys are in the mix, and then Justin Rose makes the birdie on 18. It was a total movie script, Okay, let's make him hit one in the water on 13, and then he's going to birdie 8. Now, we don't want it to end in regulation. We're going to go. I mean, it was the wildest ride. Has the phrase ever been more true that the Masters doesn't start until the second 9 on Sunday? Oh, my goodness. And then, yes, we are gifted the playoffs, so the market resets, and I was able to put some money on Rory and hedge that, futures ticket I had on Rose and come out profitable at the end of the day. When I went into Sunday thinking, I'm just going to try and make a little money back with a few top 20 finishes. What a wild, best Masters I think I've ever seen, Craig.
Yeah, it's not even a question. I was locked in from Sunday mid-afternoon all the way right through the end. Highest rated Masters of all time, 20 million people watching. Crazy list he's on now, Rory McIlroy. He was already one of the best golfers of all time, but this just solidified it. Look at these names that have won the Grand Slam. They're all in the Hall of Fame. Sarazen, Hogan player, Nicklaus, of course, Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy. It's Thursday and we're still talking about it. It just sort of tells you that was.
It's a great point. No, you're exactly right. We could talk about this one for a while. It was, and I'm so glad that he got it done. And I love Justin Rose. I think you take a poll of all the PGA Tour players, he's absolutely one of the greatest guys on the circuit. But I'm so glad that Rory didn't lose. That would have been monumental. And who knows what would have happened to him And it was also the perfect combatant on the other side for that playoff. Had that been Scotty Scheffler or Bryson DeChambeau or Patrick Reed in that playoff, I think that's an extra level of tension for Rory McIlroy. The fact that he had his good friend, his Ryder Cup partner, not necessarily an intimidating figure in Justin Rose, I think that helped Rory a lot.
Yeah, Bryson a little more intimidating than that. All right. The RBC Heritage is this week. Scotty Scheffler won last year. So, of course, the live golfers are not involved in this, but a lot of the major golfers on the PGA Tour are in, and Scotty is a huge favorite. Scheffler, by the way, did play well at the Masters. You know, he just didn't win, didn't play good enough to win. Oberg is 12-1. He played well. Morikawa, I don't know what happened to him the first couple of days. He rallied at the end, but not really. Like, didn't have a great Masters. Xander is 14-1. Cantlay 18-1. Justin Thomas 20-1 here. So it's like hard for me to pull the trigger on Morikawa after what I saw last week. It was really a bizarre few rounds for him.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. You know, he came in really as a hot choice to contend at the Masters once again, and really was never a factor. Kind of very similar to Rory, got out to a great start on Thursday and then, you know, limped home with a couple of double bogeys and stuff and never really recovered the way obviously Rory did. But a signature event here last week, the green jacket, this week, the plaid hat. They hand out a tartan plaid jacket for the winner of the RBC Heritage. I love this tournament. Down in the low country, Hilton Head, South Carolina. I was lucky enough to play this course a few years ago. A polar opposite of Augusta National, which is a big, massive property. Now we have this little tiny coastal, narrow seaside course, but just a fantastic golf tournament. One of my favorites I've always enjoyed. And some luminaries at the top, past winners. Matt Kuchar in the lead. And the last two winners from the last 2 years in a row, Scotty Scheffler, after winning the Masters last year, went right to Hilton Head and won this. He's in the lead at 4 under par, tied with Matt Fitzpatrick, who won it the year before. And then Justin Thomas, who was a very popular pick this week to bounce back off of last week. Guy's been playing really good golf, has Justin Thomas. All these guys are tied at 4 under par right now. You've got 5 guys in the lead in the early going here at the RBC Heritage.
Yeah, crushing the course thus far. It looks like, I mean, just everybody under par. And you mentioned Scotty Scheffler. He's now even a bigger favorite than he was, plus 360. I think I see now plus 300. So here are some of your picks potentially to win. Cantlay's off to a good start. So maybe that 20-1 that you got, Brady, before the tournament started, you're not going to be able to get that again. And then you have some other dart throws here. Corey Connors, Daniel Berger, Lucas Glover, Bud Cauley. First I've ever heard of him. And Michael Kim. 105-1. That's the first time I've said Bud Cauley on this show.
Well, you know, Cauley was pretty relevant a handful of years ago and then got into a life-threatening car crash. And thankfully, the man is alive and thriving here on the PGA Tour. And kind of just the last couple, 3 seasons has he been getting back into form. Played golf at University of Alabama like Justin Thomas. I think they might have even been roommates. So Bud Cauley is a really big talent, but he's been off the radar for a few years because he had that brutal accident, but now getting back into the swing of things, had a 4th place finish at the Players Championship, a 6th place finish at the Valspar recently. He's been playing great golf, and he's off to a good start. He's 2 under par. Corey Connors is 2 under par. Connors has been red hot, 5 top 10 finishes and 10 starts this season. Lucas Glover out to a 1 under par start. Daniel Berger is 1 under par through 2 holes. And Patrick Cantlay goes out in -3 in his first 9. So we're looking good across the board with the picks right now. Michael Kim yet to tee off. But yeah, I stayed away from most of the real big names. Cantlay and Corey Connors, my 2 shortest shots at 20 and 25-1 respectively. You know, here you go with some of these guys like Justin Thomas and Scotty Scheffler right there at the top of the board. I thought it was interesting. One of my buddies I was talking to earlier this week, with Rory winning the Masters and Scotty just kind of, like you said, Craig, it's not like he's playing awful. He's playing pretty darn well. He just hasn't won. And you wonder if he comes out this week and puts his foot down and wins this thing and goes, hey, guys, forget all the Rory hype. I'm still here. I'm still Scotty. So I don't know. Maybe it's possible. He's off to a start that would indicate something like that.
Yeah, I mean, 4 under par and in the lead, and they're 30 minutes in or 40 minutes in, so it does make sense. What was your before we wrap it up? What was your take? You know, we're going to hear more about this throughout the year too when the live golfers come back and play the majors. But you know, the Rahm I saw rallied late a little bit. Koepka was no good. Reed was good in this one. But overall, I would it's fair to say it was a disappointment for the live golfers outside of Bryson DeChambeau, right?
Yeah, DeChambeau and Reed. And DeChambeau,
Reed.
for the second straight week, shot 75 on Sunday. I was on him the week before the Masters at Live Miami down in your neck of the woods. He went into Sunday in the lead, shot a 75 and fell back off the pace and did the same exact thing on Sunday at Augusta, shot a 75. And I mean, I really, that was another part that was enjoyable for me was to see Rory really crush him. Now, Rory almost gave it all back, but you know, that buildup, what a final pairing, Bryson and Rory, and I was glad to see Rory come out on top of that as well. But yeah, we'll see them all in less than a month at Quail Hollow, where they typically play the Wells Fargo Championship in Charlotte, North Carolina. Rory has won there 3 or 4 times 3 or 4 times already, including last year. So he's going to come in with a just amazing amount of hype and hoopla heading into the PGA. He's a fade for me, Craig. Coming off of the biggest win of his entire career and all this coming into Quail Hollow, I'll be going against Rory in the next major.
He's a fade for you because you like to be healthy and don't want to go on heart medicine. I understand. That's the reason why he's a fade. He should be a fade for everybody. How can you possibly take that guy and roll through that with big money? We'll be right back.
Want to play roulette? Here's a tip. European roulette has a lower house edge than American style. The lower the house edge, the better shot you have at winning. Most online casinos offer European roulette. So, if I were you, I'd get spinning. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Okay, what tools can you use to measure those things a bit? And that's where you have like force plates and 3D motion and you know, launch monitors, things like that. But that's all just sort of like measuring what's happening. That doesn't necessarily explain why one guy's really good and another guy's not really good. And that's where there's still kind of like this ongoing, how do you like continue to do research to understand that better? And I think that's going to last well past my lifetime.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
I'm still optimistic eventually this will happen and they'll get it together. I mean, if Florida can get their act together, Sam, with the tribes, I believe that California can too.
It would bring a lot of money to the tribe, which is also something they really care about. It's an $8 billion market. Conservatively, it could be even more when it legalizes. The sports books would be sharing revenue with the tribes, essentially doing all their operations and forking over a percentage directly to the tribes.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
King of the featherweight division for the BKFC, that is King Kai Stewart, who is joining us now, still the champion of the featherweight.
Though he did get dominated, he was still throwing big shots. He landed a lot bigger shots on Palomino than he did me, and I wasn't really impressed. Palomino's getting older. He is definitely a former GOAT. He has done amazing things in this sport, but it's just my time.
Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We've got the Stanley Cup playoffs on deck, so you're going to be seeing a lot of my next guest here on NewsWire, and over the next couple of months, throughout all of our shows here on SportsGrid. Jo Madden is here with us to break it all down before it begins. Jo, great to have you back on. I mean, it's a great time of the year, weather getting warmer, and hockey heating up. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. We've got the last day of the regular season today, and playoff hockey will start on Saturday. So these matchups are set out there with Montreal clinching that last wild card spot in the Eastern Conference last night, not allowing the Columbus Blue Jackets that fighting chance to take it tonight. So things are set, and I can't wait to break these matchups down.
All right, so let's take a look at it here. And I know that there's so many Toronto Maple Leafs fans that are asking the same question, Joe, as they've asked, feels like every year for 10, 20 years. Is this the year for the Toronto Maple Leafs? Well, in the first round, they're a very big favorite, as they should be, against the Senators. In fact, no one really expects this to go 7 games, but the over 5.5 does exist at minus 178. So is there a possibility, as we've seen in the past, that the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs are chock full of huge upsets, 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7 in round one?
Yeah, I absolutely think so. You look here at the Ottawa Senators and you look at this team. This team has nothing to lose. They made that wild card spot. People doubted them getting into the playoffs this season, and Ottawa Senators fans are just going to be happy that their team was able to make it here. We've got Brady Kannon, Tim Struzel, and Jake Sanderson playing at elite levels out there on the ice. And I do think with what we've seen out of the Toronto Maple Leafs in playoff history, this is going to be an absolute war. This is probably the most physical of the matchups in the first round, in my opinion. And I think the Ottawa Senators have the ability to steal it. So I'll take the Ottawa Senators to take this series. You can get it at plus 142. They're going to come out nice and scrappy here. And with that history of Toronto, I just don't trust them.
Yeah, no, it's been tough. A lot of upsets, a lot of coaches fired, and everything else in between. Okay, so the defending champion Florida Panthers are going to battle their in-state mates Tampa Bay Lightning. This is another tough series to call. The Panthers did make that big trade for Brad Marchand. They've had some injuries, of course, as well. That's been the story of their season. Seems like a coin flip here, Joe. According to the odds, Lightning minus 102, Panthers minus 118. The odds are telling us this is going at least 6 games, maybe 7. Who do you like in this matchup?
This is going to be another hard one to watch and really root for that team to be able to get it done if you like both of these teams, because this is going to be another battle. I do think the X factor is adding Brad Marchand here with Matthew Tkachuk. Matthew Tkachuk and him out on the ice. I can't wait to see what we've got in store. Now, if I was looking at Tampa versus any other team, I would be taking Tampa in any other matchup out there in this first round in 5. But here versus the reigning Stanley Cup champs, I've got to go with the Florida Panthers. I do think they have the ability to get the win. I think they come out nice, hard, and fast. But you look at the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Tampa Bay Lightning haven't been really resting their players as much down the stretch. We've seen those injuries to the Florida Panthers. I think Tampa can win the first couple of games, make it really interesting out here. Well, I do think the Florida Panthers get the win. You can't discount what Nikita Kucherov, Braden Point, and Jake Gunsel have been doing out there on the ice in that last matchup versus Florida. They were able to record a combined of 6 points. I think this series goes to 6, but the Panthers take it in 6.
All right, fair enough. Panthers are also favored to win the Eastern Conference, Joe. Would you double down on them at plus 310? Carolina and Washington, by the way, both right there. Really tough one. You've made your claim here on Toronto to stay away from them. Who do you like to win the East?
I have a little bit of concern here with the Florida Panthers as they go down the stretch. We know this team did go all the way to take the Stanley Cup last season, and as the playoffs go on, I think this team will tire down the stretch. So it's a hard between them and Carolina and Washington, because Washington has the age, Carolina has the inconsistencies on the road. It would have to be the Florida Panthers, but I'm not in love with that bet.
All right, so the Edmonton Oilers are entering the playoffs out west, Joe. Very upset with the way things happened last year. One of the most exciting finals we've ever seen, 3-0, 3-3. And then Connor McDavid and company came up short in the final. They are a pretty big favorite to win this series, minus 140 over the LA Kings. I mean, is this a man on a mission here at this point, Joe? Do you expect Edmonton to take a deep run here? Because what they went through last year, I would assume that will help them this year.
Yes, what they went through last year was outstanding. How they were able to come back versus the Florida Panthers. And while they didn't win game 7, they won those 3 games prior. It looked like Florida was going to be able to win it quickly, but they made a game of it. Now, the Edmonton Oilers have dealt with so many injuries as of late. Down the stretch, they haven't had those lines rolling out. And when we here versus the LA Kings, that gives the LA Kings a huge advantage in the first couple of games of this round. We're also looking at a Kings team that has the best home ice advantage out there in this first round, going 31-5-4 on home ice. Now, home and regular season playoff hockey is different, but this will be the first time the Kings have had home ice advantage in the last 4 years in the first round versus the Edmonton Oilers, which we know the Oilers have always got out. If the Kings can push this to 7, they have every ability to get the win. I'm going to take the Kings to take the series 4-3. That's coming in at plus 480. I think we're getting that upset in this one.
Wow, 2 big upsets from Joe. All right, so this one is more of a coin flip. Colorado against Dallas will close out here. Prognosticators say this one goes 6-7 games. Is that the case for you? Who comes out on top?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Colorado Avalanche to take this in 6. You can take it for that 4-2 outcome at plus 380. Looking at the Dallas Stars, we did see Jason Robinson leave the ice last night in a knee brace, which is a huge disadvantage for them. Mikko Heiskanen still not going to be in this lineup, at least for the first couple of games. Tyler Sequin did get back in the lineup last night, but the Dallas Stars haven't been playing a full 60 minutes. You look at Colorado, you look at Nathan McKinnon, Martin Necas, and the speed the Colorado Avalanche bring to the playoffs, and this team, I do think, can take it in 6. Now, they might take a couple of games to really get that strong form, but I do think they get that win.
All right, Joe. Thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it. We'll check back again next week as the playoffs begin. We'll have it covered for you here on SportsGrid and catch Joe on In Game Live discussing it. Joe, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, guys. All the best in all your bets.
All right, Jo Madden with us. We'll take a quick time out, come back and wrap it up. We finally know why Rory wasn't talking to Bryson in that final round. We'll absolutely break that down for you and a whole lot more. Don't go away.
Want to play roulette? Here's a tip. European roulette has a lower house edge than American style. The lower the house edge, the better shot you have at winning. Most online casinos offer European roulette. So, if I were you, I'd get spinning. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Okay, what tools can you use to measure those things a bit? And that's where you have like force plates and 3D motion and you know, launch monitors, things like that. But that's all just sort of like measuring what's happening. That doesn't necessarily explain why one guy's really good and another guy's not really good. And that's where there's still kind of like this ongoing, how do you like continue to do research to understand that better? And I think that's going to last well past my lifetime.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
I'm still optimistic eventually this will happen and they'll get it together. I mean, if Florida can get their act together, Sam, with the tribes, I believe that California can too.
Would bring a lot of money to the tribe, which is also something they really care about. It's an $8 billion market. Conservatively, it could be even more when it legalizes. The sports books would be sharing revenue with the tribes, essentially doing all their operations and forking over a percentage directly to the tribes.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
King of the featherweight division for the BKFC, that is King Kai Stewart, who is joining us now, still the champion of the featherweight.
Though he did get dominated, he was still throwing big shots. He landed a lot bigger shots on Palomino than he did me, and I wasn't really impressed. Palomino's getting older. He is definitely a former GOAT. He has done amazing things in this sport, but it's just my time.
Only on SportsGrid.
All right, so I'll be back tomorrow here for the show, but folks, our draft coverage begins now. We'll be covering it all week long here and all next week. We're going to break this down for you. In addition, we're going to dive into a first-time home run yesterday and the exchange that was made. And also, what was Rory McIlroy thinking? Not chumming it up with Bryson DeChambeau. Time now for some last licks. Probably our final Masters story for a while. I know we've been doing it all week long. I think by tomorrow it ends. But we had to do this final one before we put a bow on the Masters. So DeChambeau, after Sunday's round, Bryson DeChambeau said that Rory McIlroy did not say one word to him during their final round. Well, yesterday, the agent for Rory McIlroy gave an explanation. Says it was nothing personal, but the plan all along, apparently, was for Rory to be completely locked in and not speak a word to his opponent during the final round. Now, here's the bigger question. Two questions. Number one, is that legit? Is that legit? Is that really what happened? That's the agent, not Rory. That's number one. Number two, did it work? I mean, did it really work with Rory not speaking to DeChambeau at all? It was a really shaky round. Like, I mean, if that's going to be the way that he's going to play to win tournaments, it ain't going to work. I mean, kind of felt like he played great, but also played a little awful too. So I'll buy it for now, but I don't know. For me, there's probably something more there that we're not finding out about, and nothing for public yet from Rory on this. So we'll see when he plays his next tournament, or maybe at the PGA Championship coming up next month. Okay, so I can speak from experience here. The NFL draft next week is in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Thankfully, I believe from what I saw, the weather is going to be a little bit better than what it has been, and the weather could be in the 50s or the 60s in Green Bay, because I mean, it is still cold in a lot of places throughout the country. But here's the bigger question, because I've been to this airport many times and I've flown in to see Packers games. How are they going to get all these people through the airport? There's one airport in Green Bay. So are people going to fly into Milwaukee and drive or do something? They're expecting about 40,000 people over the course of the week in and out of the airport. And the airport representative, Austin, out of Green Bay's airport, which is called Austin Straubel, Straubel, his name is Marty Pietti. He told a television station in Green Bay that they're ready. I don't know that they're ready for this. Now, the draft itself, the NFL always seems prepared. They do a great job. There's expected to be over 200,000 people at Lambeau or right outside Lambeau. I've seen the setup. It's going to be great. But getting all of those people in and out of the airport, I don't know how that's going to end up happening without delays and things like this. This is not an international airport. This is a really small airport. And they're arguably doing the draft in the smallest market in the NFL. Still think it's a great idea having it in Green Bay. But yeah, I'm assuming you're probably not flying in to see the draft. Okay, yesterday I was on the pregame show for the Marlins Diamondbacks, and then I ended up staying for, I don't know, I would say about 7-8 innings of the game. For those of you who accuse me of an early leaver before games are over, if I'm not working, yeah, I'm leaving early. I'm just being honest. If the game's not relevant, so I think it was 6-2 or 6-1 at that point, and I bailed. But I did get a chance to see this player on the Arizona Diamondbacks. I had never heard of him before. His name is Tim Tawa. He hit a home run yesterday against the Marlins. It was his first career home run. So you know how that goes. The big question is, who caught it? So apparently a Marlins fan did end up catching it, and the Marlins ended up speaking to the gentleman who caught it, and they did end up working out an exchange. And so Tawa got his ball back. He said post-game that he gave it to his father. And what a great story ended up being, as you could see there. So, look, I've talked about this many times before. If it's an Ohtani ball or a ball that has any kind of substance where it's a prospect of major significance and you can get six figures for the ball, you cannot give a ball back like this. But in this particular case, great job by the fan. Great job for Tawa to hit the home run. Great job by the Marlins to make the exchange. And that's how it all went down. By the way, this fan also caught Henry Davis's first home run in Miami against the Pirates, too. How about that? All right, that will do it for our show today. Thanks again to all of our guests for coming on the program. They include Jo Madden of SportsGrid, Matt Lutovsky of Sporting News. And of course, thanks to all of you for watching as well. Thanks to Brady Kannon for coming on the program. If you want more golf news, we got Smiley Kaufman coming up next at 12 o'clock Eastern, followed by Pharrell Coast to Coast at 3 o'clock. Game time decisions at 6, and then in-game live game day and recapping some of the events tonight in the Major League Baseball and NHL. We got Sports Rage tonight. Thanks to Luke and Frank. I'm Craig. See you tomorrow on NewsWire.